All right, starting, and we're live. Well, welcome everybody. This is Carl Hooker coming to you live. This is our sixth interview in a six-book series on mobile learning mindset. I'm excited today to invite a good friend of mine, Brehm. And there's some people I go to for inspiration. There's some people I go to learn things. Leo is neither of those. And that's a good thing. I go to Leo. Leo is one of the very few people in this world that I can talk to, and within 5 minutes of a phone conversation, we come up with some creative, crazy idea, some of which are really good, some of which not so good. So I'm honored to have him join me today and be a part of this interview. So this book is all about IT staff, and I know Leo has kind of done some time in that department for several years at several different districts. So Leo, let's start out with that. First of all, thank you and welcome. You're coming to us from the Northeast, right?
I am.
It's
lovely up here.
There we go. Yeah, again, it's nothing like here in Texas where it was 80 degrees yesterday. Now it's 50, but we'll move on. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your current role? And then kind of what's your origin story? Like, how did you get started in all this?
My mother was a teacher growing up, a special ed teacher who dealt with a lot of adaptive technology. And, when I was in grade school, she used to bring home Apple IIe's and with adaptive technology, and I got really into it at that point. Thing she told me though is don't go into education, go into business. And so forward to my college years, I took some people took a gap 3 years. A gap year after high school. I took a gap 3 years. So
nice.
That worked nice. But when I went when I went back though, I was used to working full time, so clear that I couldn't live at school and not do anything else. So I ended up becoming a tech aide in the elementary school that I went to. Full experience in the 95, 96 timeframe. And I part of the district team to write the first 5-year tech plan in the Canton, Massachusetts. And the following year, I ended up as the network administrator for the Sharon Public Schools next door, which is a small bedroom community outside of Boston, which was very progressive in the ed tech space. I was fortunate enough to be there for a few years as the network admin and the only technician for a while. But we had instructional tech specialists on hand, and we're going through that evolution like many districts were, from business teachers to technology skill sets and what that meant and how we were going to embed those into the regular ed curriculum. Upon finishing my undergrad, they asked me to teach high school and middle school a little bit part-time, which was wonderful. Full of years. And I was on waiver, of course, because I didn't have a teaching degree.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a little time. And then my superintendent suggested that I go and legitimate, and I went for my master's in instructional technology. And then that time frame, I became the director of IT in Sharon. And it was a wonderful experience and opportunity. Early 2000s, as you know, you experienced it. It was just a vibrant time for tech and ed, or ed tech as we call it now.
Yeah.
And that's how everything kind of snowballed from there. My experiences, 2000, right around 2007, I joined MassQ, the board of MassQ, which is the local ISTE affiliate. And I quickly became the conference chair, which is a dubious honor because of the amount of work that's involved. And
that's a high-paying gig.
It was a great experience. We ended up moving our yearly conference to Gillette Stadium, home of the New England Patriots, and that really jettisoned MassQ back on the map. And we became the state leader in integration of technology. And so it allowed us the opportunity to partner with the Massachusetts Superintendents Association. And it was a great learning experience on connecting what happens in the classroom with what happening at the state level that are faced on both sides in order to make that to make a successful program or advance a program within the state. So that's kind of like how I kind of got to where I was. In 2011, I became the president of MassQ, and I also started from the Newton Public Schools, which is a small city just outside of Boston, home of the Fig Newton.
Yeah.
Some of us remember that cookie. It's probably full of white flour and calories now, and probably off the list of good food. But
it's intolerance. Yeah.
That's right, exactly. So so there we go. That's kind of how I got to where I am now. And currently I'm the CIO for a regional district in the middle of the state called Northborough Southborough. So some consulting, as you know, and I'm happy to work with numerous school districts across the Commonwealth, which is very exciting.
Backing up, I mean, going back to 95, mid 90s, and then to today, I mean, that spans a good 25 years. What would you say is like the biggest change you've seen in technology in schools since that day you started back in 95 to today? Like, what's one thing you would consider a game changer?
Yeah, I would say it was I think it's when technology started to go mobile that we started to see that shift from being the garnish or the special. It's kind of like the thing on the side of something special that happened. The teacher did a lot of prep work and was taking the risk. They did a lot of planning around it, and then when it failed, it was very discouraging. That mindset shift back maybe in 09, 08 timeframe, where people started to think, this is just the risk I have to take. It would create a second set of backup plans for their class, just in case the tech didn't work, and less plans, right? So it became something they could trust. And the mobilization of it not only allowed it to make its way into the classroom more quickly out of the fixed lab or the dedicated lab area, but they had to move the kids to it, or the technology could go to them a lot more easy, with more ease. And that up to today, where it's coming in with every student, right? It's become part of our culture. It's become part of our, it's ubiquitous now. So I think that's probably some of the major shifts in tech and ed that have given teachers the opportunity to take risk, and
I like that
opportunity. Yeah.
I like that analogy of a garnish versus now it's kind of baked into everything, right? As opposed to like an icing on a cake, it's now baked into the cake almost.
Right. Yeah, because there's no more wow factor of having it be on a screen. Where curriculum on a screen was a wow factor 12 years ago.
Point.
And now everything's on a screen. Right? We're shocked. Yeah, exactly. It's expected. So our children are flipping magazines, expecting the pictures to move like iPads. So.
So speaking of iPads, and then you said the biggest change you've seen is that mobilization. This book and the book series is all about mobile learning. What do you think, from a CIO, CTO perspective, what are some of the biggest challenges that schools face when they start to implement a mobile device initiative?
I still think it's the curriculum. I still think that our still has a large mindset where we start on paper first. And it's hard to get out of it. It's hard to break that mold because it's not how we learned. So
right.
The teachers of today, it's not how you and I went through school learning. Everything was based in that textbook. There was a scope and sequence based on the page numbers. Whereas today, the book is round, right? It's not flat. So
I like that.
You don't have to go from one page to the next. You can hop to the appropriate page of any book as needed. And that for teachers to construct to lesson in that manner. And so now lessons have to be more interactive, and they have to be more multi-directional. And again, obviously that accumulates or accumulates into a bad word. You can edit that out, right? It allows us to peak at as much as possible because of that, right? But I don't think that has translated for teachers yet. I don't think they've realized that is as an attribute to the technology quite yet.
Yeah, it's interesting as people, as someone who's been in it for a while, and you and I both have been, the initial phase of this in the early, 2007, 2008, 2009, technical challenges like you were saying, and now the expectation is there. So the curriculum really is kind of down for those that have gotten far enough ahead. So for those of you that are reading this book, I mean, you're going to want to know that you're reading the technical side of it, but know that there's another set of challenges that come once you do overcome the technical part, and that's that curriculum side.
I think the technical part has to do with the know-how. It's one of the major gaps that we saw in Newton was we built a infrastructure second to none, and we were on the kind of access we wanted. We didn't quite call it one-to-one, but essentially we were in school, in the schools. How did it was getting the curriculum teams to understand the power of the digital curriculum and the way the way it could be conducted in the space. So it really was heavily about the shift really needed to come from pedagogy, emphasize or take full advantage of the use of that technology. So it's definitely light years ahead of where it was, but it's no longer about a specialized application like Stationary Studio or Kid Picks, that we used to truck the kids down to the lab to take part in, because there was that disconnect to what skills were actually being built. We used to call them soft skills, but anything else, and now we have standards that are built around them, and that gap or that delta of understanding from the teacher's perspective of just how they can help meet those skill sets or meet those standards within the history curriculum, science curriculum, or math curriculum.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting now is that one of the things, and I was going to ask you something about more filters and restrictions, but I think a more poignant question that's more on topic today would be, student data privacy and what your thoughts are on that. I know that we have all this curriculum is being digitized, and all these logins are happening. Where's all this information going? Where are Google Apps for Education School District? But I was in Louisiana recently, and there they don't think too kindly about Google because of student data privacy. So what are your thoughts, and where's all this going? I mean, it may just be more general data privacy across the world, but in terms of education.
Yeah, it's something we have to face as a whole, as society, and education is more readily a part of that. Used to be something we used to think we had to worry about once we turned 18, but obviously now it's something we have to think about on the first time we touch a digital device. In Massachusetts here, we were lucky enough, we had our own legal team, and as did Cambridge and Boston. And, I was honored to take part in a project that Steve Smith from Cambridge spearheaded with Mark Racine from Boston on developing a student data privacy policy for products and companies to adhere to. It was well written for numerous reasons. I think protecting the student's identity amongst the data, while not hindering the innovation
right,
that is needed by analyzing that data, that usage data. And I think that's important to keep in mind. As public sector employees and municipalities, we're very quick to demonize the vendor, the profiteering vendor. And I would consider myself a sympathizer from that. I think that many people are in that ed tech space to make a living and not necessarily get rich quick. That is often that we label the vendors with. I've yet to meet the ed tech vendor.
That's a billionaire, yeah.
Yeah, the billionaire ed tech vendor.
There's not many of them.
Exactly. So, I think that they're there to really push the envelope. Many of them are there to push the envelope on effectively using the technology and want their product to meet the demands effectively. So without that appropriate partnership, I think that we're really tech space to meet its potential. That it's been often criticized. I mean, Alan November recently published an article, I think earlier in the year, pointing out where EdTech failed and why it has failed. And I think I think we're partly to blame. Ability to share, share insight and share information. So.
if we overdo it, we get too restrictive, then we're not actually learning or sharing from each other. So you're right. There's a happy medium there. And I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head there. There's not, I mean, even though there's $9 billion in ed tech or whatever the number is, you know, there's not one person grabbing all that money. I mean, it's spread out amongst hundreds of companies that are trying to get their slice of it, but I don't think they're using it for evil deeds.
Well, and there's been some articles floating around too about projects like the IBM Watson and Education product, and I even talk about the Amazon experience. Why can't it provide the suggestions based on my preferences? And the reality is, you know, Michael Horn was talking about this recently. We had a conversation about this. Is we don't have enough data points. So, you know, and the points that are very in education is our data is very disorganized in education. We don't have data governance to leverage the data appropriately, let alone leverage it to deliver a better product to us. So I think it goes, you know, it's a double-edged sword.
So I'll change pace a little bit on this and ask you a different question. This is more of a personal one, but also professional. Like, where do you go for inspiration? Like, where do you get inspired by? Because you're always on the cutting edge on a lot of things. So what inspires you?
You know, aside from the recent series of books called
Mobile learning mind.
Just kidding. Mobile learning.
Yeah. You're allowed to stay now. Yeah. Ding.
You know,
it stays in. This all stays in.
Oh yeah, right. I think the one emphasis of technology that's been helpful to me in my career as the last 8 to 9 years probably is the professional network. You know, I came to that realization unexpectedly, probably maybe 14, 15 months ago, when I decided it was time for me to move on to a new place to improve my commute and my home life from where I was working, where I live. And looking around for new opportunities, just the power of the network that had been created, and that I saw other teachers leveraging to improve their practice, to bounce ideas off of each other. The personal relationships that we've built as an industry, particularly in ed tech, provide us with the opportunity to find inspiration from what people are doing, and be able to and twist it and move it into our own environments as we see fit. Aside from that, you know, I read a lot of the other industry publications like Tech and Learning, and but again, I think it goes back to a lot of the conversations that I have with my peers and that professional network. That, you know, hey, Leo's really into this. You know, they send me over an idea. They send me over a product that's really new. I also turn to generation technology, advanced technologies. I think that's one of the reasons why I really got involved, or I'm really happy in my career, is the ability to use cutting edge technology in different ways to even further personalize the experience or deepen the instructional experience. Work in this industry because it's kind of our job to play with the new toys in a way.
The Tom Hanks and Big. I like that. That's why I've told people that's my title all the time. I look at this stuff and then I tell them if it's good or not. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And how could we use it, right? And what way could we use this effectively? You know, and recently I've been a project with Fable Vision Studios out of Boston. That's Peter and Paul Reynolds' group on a technology education program, K-12, around animation, and how they've got a curriculum line that goes K-8 with animation tools, and it moves right into 9-12 with a professional level, you should call it Toon Boom, and they've connected those with integrated lessons right into the core curriculums. See, something that's so advanced be integrated so at the bottom, at the core level of curriculum. And I think it just presents an awesome opportunity for a percentage of our learners who that's how they can express themselves or make their thinking visible.
That's
to express what they're learning in a different way. And yes, in some way, I guess it uses technology, right? So, and I think that's our new role. And I think that the term technology often boxes us into what it is that we do every day. But I think the reality is it's what the technology empowers that we have now become of within our industry.
I mean, the Fable Vision thing made me think. I mean, this actually leads into the next question, which is what's something you've seen recently that you're excited about in education? I mean, that Fable Vision project sounds pretty cool. Is there something else out there that you've seen?
Yep, that's pretty cool. Also, the STEAM platform, which is a virtual reality platform. It's an open source virtual reality development platform called STEAM. And I've been working with is interested in setting up a lab for it, allowing immersive opportunities. Basic. I'm going to set up an instance of Google's Tilt Brush. Chance to take a look at
cool.
Tilt Brush. It's a 3D painting and drawing environment where you put on an HTC headset and you're connected to this environment, and it's a 3D canvas itself or designer all around yourself from the inside out.
Video of that. I've never seen it in action yet, though.
Yeah, we're excited about that. We're actually going to incorporate that a little bit with some of the Fable Vision stuff. Peter Reynolds can't wait to immerse himself into that. Actually, it's one of the ways we're going to get him on site for an on-site visit.
That is too cool.
So we're excited about that because those are no longer cost prohibitive. For $2,500, we're going to have a really state-of-the-art setup that's going to be an outlet for population in Worcester, Mass, at a collaborative called Central Mass Collaborative, and innovative facility out of an old bomb and airplane factory, and it's our determination to turn it into a place of opportunity for a very large at-risk population in the greater Worcester area. And so we're really excited about that project, and we've partnered with Steelcase and Fable Vision on it, and Safari Montage on our active learning spaces and our active learning classrooms. Excited about what that facility is going to be able to offer, and to this population, it's going to be a world of difference. So.
Yeah, that's where it really gets. And when you actually see it having that kind of impact, that's where it's pretty neat. I mean, getting people to experience things they never would have experienced outside of their own community. I mean, who would have thought that like 5 years ago we'd be putting cardboard boxes on our phones and being able to like walk around and look at dinosaurs?
Exactly.
Crazy to think about.
It is. It's I kind of imagine what it would have been like for me if I had access to it, but I guess I probably wouldn't be doing this for a living. So I'm glad to be the help deliver that experience, and I think that's why we're kind of all in it in a way.
Oh yeah.
To deliver that experience or that opportunity for those series of aha moments for both our teachers and our learners. Because there's many ways that we can connect the dots in the background and certain concepts that are core to our curriculum, and technology can definitely build those bridges in ways we probably haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah, so kind of backing up again to when you first started in this role, since a lot of people are going to be reading this book or from the IT side of the house, what kind of advice would you have for a person who's just getting started? Like, what would you tell them? Like, what's something they should be kind of weary of or kind of keep their mind on?
I think they should do everything they can to understand the instructional space and what it's about. Far too often, CIOs and IT folks come in from a pure IT perspective, just making it work, very restrictive and lock it down type of mentality, which I don't think is as restrictive as it used to be. But 7 or 8 years ago, many districts were locking down YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I can't imagine that actually. I can't imagine that being viable today. How could we lock down YouTube today, and expect to be able to leverage the content that we're trying to leverage within our schools? So, or without a substitute of some kind, right? Bandwidth was an issue, and I think that's technology is one, and two is evolution of the school CIO, right? The idea that the school CIO is very different from that of your traditional CIO. So
Totally.
I think that's probably one of the things I would give advice to. I'd say if you don't have a master MED in education, definitely go and is in education some core curriculum and instruction courses of some kind, and observe a few classrooms. Go see the technology in action and pay attention to the pain points, and how can you get rid of those pain points for the instruction in the classroom.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter in this book called "The Marriage of IT and CNI," and it's all about that exact thing. I mean, Leo's leading into it perfectly, but I spent a whole chapter just talking about how you have to really get in there and see it. And I think you're right; the job has totally changed. It's not just sitting in the back walls, messing with wires anymore. I mean, everything's in the hands of your customers or your kids. So good for them.
Yeah, I would say the other thing too, is get take a few courses on data infrastructure. I think one of the key parts of supporting instruction today is to become more systemic. As I mentioned earlier, the digital content and access to digital resources is the management of those resources and the management of access to those resources. So we talk a little bit about, I'm sure we may get into a conversation on LMSs and what an LMS means within our schools today. I think that term management in the learning management system can go in many directions, but I think that the primary direction should be is management of content curation and delivery. And I think the whole of the learning management system really should be about learning experiences, right? For both.
That's right. You called it an LES. I love that. We brought that up to me last month. I was like, I love that phrase.
The learning experience system, right? Because that's really what it is, and it may not necessarily be one product, Carl. The one thing, it would be easy if we could put it all in one basket, but we're definitely going to be limiting ourselves if we don't use best in breed within our industry. So, perhaps that's another piece of advice for CIOs. Get familiar with that data infrastructure and how those data silos can talk to each other, because without them talking to each other, they create a great experience for the user on the other end. So I think being familiar with the user experience and how to create a good user experience, you'll advance your position within your learning community immensely, just by having that conversation about this is the user experience and this is how we want it to be and this is what it's going to take to get there, right? So,
yeah, I think
sorry, go ahead.
It kind of goes back to the point you made about the data privacy too, where we have a lot of data, but you're right, it's all siloed. We don't really do a good job of actually analyzing it and seeing like what is the complete package of a student when they get out of our system, because there's so many multiple points. So that's great advice for someone just entering the field, kind of keeping their eye on the future. Go James Lipton style on these next few. So these are going to be quick. James Lipton accent, but I've done this with every one of the interviewees, and there've always been some interesting answers that come out of these. So here we go. Word or sound you hate to hear?
Traditional school bell.
Oh, the actual.
I hate the bell.
Okay.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, it drives me crazy. Disturbing to the process.
Something that gives you pride.
Something that gives me pride. Watching aha moments observe classrooms, when I see children connect the dots, within any school that I'm working in, I think that gives me pride because I know that somehow I'm a part of that system. And I guess if it's using technology, it makes it better. But I'm proud of the work that I do and learners that we're creating for tomorrow.
That's awesome. I would agree with that for me too. So name something really cool that you have in your office.
I have a pretty extensive set of the Apple Think Different posters framed in my office.
Ooh.
And
those are worth something.
I like them. I like them a lot. Yeah, when they first came out, I got a set of the 10 or 12 that came with it, you know, and there were some people in my schools that liked certain, you know, like some of the big Beatles fans, and I gave them away to them.
Yeah, I remember the Muhammad. I used to have the Muhammad Ali black and white somewhere.
Yeah, that one's a rare one now. I have about 10 or 12 of them, but I've recollected some. I've had to recollect them.
That's cool.
I think they're inspirational because of what the one's speech, if you will, or that Richard Dreyfuss did there for Apple. I think the concept is good to remind ourselves of what our potential is. Don't think it's the crazy one. That's it.
Yeah, put a dent in the universe, right? That's what Steve said.
That's right.
You could have dinner with any person in history. Who would it be and why?
Oh, geez, that is a toss-up because my initial would say Steve Jobs, of course.
I can't say not Steve, so someone else.
But not Steve.
He would be a great dinner companion anyway, from the looks of some of his movies.
I've heard he's pretty rude. A friend of mine actually had dinner with him and said it was a very intense dinner. Actually had dinner with him. Well, that's a story for another time. But you know, I would say Leonardo da Vinci.
Your namesake.
Not because of you know, in short of the language gap may cause a problem. Be interested to hear the questions he would ask me, and I would like to see how he would process why he would ask me those questions. I think that's why. Well,
you definitely win in terms of the oldest person in history that have been answered to that question. Of the 6 people I've asked, I think no one's gone pre-1900, so you win there. Okay, a couple more real quick. What's something that needs to be invented?
Oh, the point of view gun from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
Yes, you remember the point of view gun? Now, that was not in the book. It was not in the book. It was made for the movie, but it came out of a concept out of one of books that was, I think, ghostwritten by somebody other than Douglas Adams. It would if you shot the gun at somebody, that person would immediately understand how you feel.
Oh my gosh,
it's a pretty funny joke. It's true. We do need it today, right? I think that's why. I think we need that today. A gap in understanding. But it was developed, according to the book, it was developed by the Association of Disgruntled Housewives. So that at the point of, you just don't know how I feel, could use the gun to make that happen. Good movie, too.
That's awesome. All right, here's the last kind of a fun one for you. What was the last time you sang a song, and what was the song?
Yesterday.
Oh, the song was yesterday, or no? That you sang yesterday.
I sang yesterday. I have music-loving children, and my son has gotten to the song "Paradise City" by Guns N' Roses.
Nice. Did you do the whole Axl Rose swinging back and forth?
I didn't perform it for him because it would be pretty. I don't want him to have to see that.
Never see his dad do that. Oh, that's good though. You're bringing him up right though, teaching him the classics.
That's right. Well, this is a good invention, right? Alexa was a great invention because it's allowed my children to experience all kinds of music just by asking.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. We have not gone with the Google Home or Alexa experience yet. We're working on it. That's coming soon. I'm feeling in our house.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so last thing, any last minute advice for people about to lead, anyone in IT that's about to lead a mobile device initiative? Any last minute you could think of?
Yes, make sure that every aspect of that, and make sure every aspect of that initiative is meaningful.
Nice.
Don't just implement it for technology's sake. Always focus on the learning. What learning will happen out of this aspect of the initiative, both for the teachers and for the students, and as well as the parents? How will it empower learning, both inside the classroom and anytime, anywhere?
That is awesome. He's Leo Brehm, ladies and gentlemen. You can follow him on the Twitters at Leo Brehm, LeoBrehm. You can find him on LinkedIn. He is the CIO of Northborough Southborough Schools right there in Massachusetts. Thank you so much for joining me today, Leo.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for having me. I like what you've done with the place.
Sure. All right, everybody, take care.